But if Canada has a chance, they have got to get the Liberals out of office. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter if it's Trudeau or Carney or anyone else. You've got to get Palabé in, or there's Maxime Bernier is still running from the Freedom Party, I think. Maybe Danielle Smith, who's running, Western Canada. Like, you just got to try something different because it's not working. I think we're going to have Danielle Smith, who's the premier of Western, like the Calgary part of Canada. I think we're going to have her on at some point. Look, I talk about it all the time. We talk about Canada a lot on this show. I think Canada's in a very precarious position, and I don't know that they can survive another Liberal government that will import all these people and not defend Native Canadians, et cetera, et cetera. But if you want to get a sense of who Carney really is this a guy who's going to kick the jihadists off the streets of Toronto and Montreal? Is this a guy who's going to do good energy deals specifically for Western Canada before they secede, which I think there's probably going to be an even bigger movement for Calgary to get the hell out? Now, you guys don't have federalism that way. You have different provinces, and yes, it's a little freer in the western side of Canada than it is in the east. And maybe it's a little better in the rural areas than it is in the cities like Toronto and Montreal. I like Pierre Poilievre, who I think is really, really excellent. And listen to this, because Poilievre had a huge lead.
It is Poilievre.
Pierre Poilievre, who was the leader of the Canadian Party. I played a couple videos of him. I thought his messaging was pretty good. He didn't align himself with Trump enough. Who knows what his future is? He also lost his own seat. He didn't just lose the race for prime ministership, right, to be the leader of the head party of the government. He also lost his own seat in Carleton. So this is an absolute disaster for the Conservatives. And I've been to Canada probably 50 times. I'm down here in Florida where we have all the Canadian snowbirds, many of whom I think are just going to set up camp and never go back up north. You in Canada, like the endless jihad in the streets of Toronto and elsewhere will continue. I see no way that it turns around. I mean, right, like if Carney is going to win, which is ultimately what happened, well, now the left is going to be so look, wow, see, we beat Trump. We beat evil America. We're not going to be the 51st state, blah, blah, blah. And now we're going to be in a fight. It seems fairly obvious we will now be in a big fight with Canada. And you could also make an argument that that's exactly what Trump wanted to do. Now, again, maybe this is Trump's, 4D chess, but I just want to say, like, I'm unbelievably sympathetic. I know what that feeling is, and you have to think about what you want to do. And again, I always tell you, I meet so many snowbirds down here because this is where all the Canadians come when they want to get out of that tough tundra in the winter.
Like, if you think about Canada, you can see why a lot of these horrible ideas are spreading. It's because Canadians were always sort of hands-off, kind of thought of as like a little bit goofy or aloof or whatever. And it was just, they had a big country and it was just pretty good. So now the Islamists and the Hamas people have sort of just infiltrated.
Basically Carney is just a more middle-aged, average white version of Trudeau and the globalist agenda. But what I think is largely happening here is that as America rights the ship, as we return to competency and meritocracy and transparency, that other Western nations that have been under the shadow of this evil totalitarian ideology that has just crushed innovation and crushed hope and the dreams of literally millions of good people all over the world, they're waking up too. That is what you might call the Trump effect.